So this video will be taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, and I've been debating with myself actually quite a bit if I should actually get this watch at all, because I don't really need a new watch. I am pretty much tied into the Garmin ecosystem, and I have a Garmin Fenix 7X, and I also kind of have a Garmin Epix Gen 2, which also have a nice AMOLED screen, even though it is defective right now, so I'm waiting for Garmin to exchange that for a new one. But with that being said, I just could not get this one out of my head, so I kind of need to get it out of my system, so to speak. It's been in and out of the shopping cart so many times, and right now you can get it at a pre-order deal, so you get the Galaxy Buds Live included, or rather you have to apply for that online, and they will ship those, I believe, within a month or so afterwards. And the last day for that offer was the 25th of August 2022, which is actually the exact date that I ordered this one here, so I could still take advantage of that offer. But like I said, I'm not really sure I'm gonna keep it, but I just have to try it and get it out of my system. So this video will do an unboxing video, first look video, and we'll also set this up using my Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, excuse me. So let's just get into this one here. So this is the retail version. Of course, I bought this with my own money, and let's have a look around the box here. So first off, of course, we have the Samsung Galaxy Watch branding there and the Pro name. I'm not really sure what's so pro about this one here. It doesn't really have that many features, like for instance a Garmin watch, if you account for all of the smart tracking features, sporting features, and so on and so on. It kind of lags quite a bit there, but then again, it is more in line with a smartwatch, or it is rather a smartwatch, which is kind of where the Garmin series is kind of lagging quite a bit. You can get notifications, you can see when you get a call, and you can also kind of reply with some predefined text, but you cannot really see what kind of images people send you. You can only see that it is an image in the messaging app. You cannot answer call on the watch itself. It doesn't have any smart assistance features, and so on and so on. So it's still lagging quite a bit in terms of smartwatch functionality. Actually, it's been pretty much the same since like the Fenix 3, I believe, in terms of its smartwatch functionality, versus this one here. The Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro is of course a smartwatch first and a tracking device second. And as of late, I'm not really running that much as I used to. Right now, I'm just maintaining my current fitness level. So I'm running like every other day or so, maybe like 4 days a week. And I think this one could actually be fine enough for that. So I kind of want to see what kind of data streams also we can get with a watch like this. In terms of hiking, can I actually get mapping when I do an activity as one of the data fields like you can on the Garmin watches, which also have maps built into the watch itself? Or is it more basic like on the Apple Watch, where you kind of had to use a third-party application like Work Outdoors, which is an excellent app for Apple Watch? Do you have to kind of do the same with this one here to get mapping like when you're doing hike and so on? I know you can import GPX files, but I'm not really planning to do that. I just want to track my route and then efficiently as possible be able to track myself back to where I parked my car for just those, 1 to 2 to 3 hour hikes. But anyways, let's just get into this box here. Pretty basic black box. So this is the 45mm, and this is also the LTE version. So I did get this with LTE because I might use it in the future, but as of now, I'm not really planning to use it right out of the bat. But I kind of like the idea that I can stream music straight from the watch and just have a Bluetooth pair of headphones with me. And then people can kind of get in contact with me as well through my watch alone, so I don't need to bring a phone with me when I'm out and doing my running. On the other side here, we do have the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro branding. For some reason, there's no like space in between the watch and the 5 number there. It's a little bit odd. On the top there, we do have one of the seals, and on the bottom side there, we do have another seal. And on the back side there, we do have the model number, and this is the black titanium version. This is also, like I said, LTE. So I'm kind of curious to try out that titanium housing and also the sapphire crystal lens, which is definitely a big upgrade coming from a previous generation of watches from Samsung. So LTE, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, GPS. I believe it has exactly the same SoC as the previous watches, so the Series 4 watches. So there's no real upgrade dates inside this device. The only real difference, I believe, is this one have a bigger battery. Still has the same CPU and GPU inside. So the extra battery life, which is up to 80 hours on this model here of smartwatch mode, and I believe up to 20 hours in GPS mode, that comes exclusively from the bigger battery that's in this one here, which is the biggest battery we've seen in a Galaxy Watch. So that's definitely nice to be able to get maybe 2, 3, maybe squeeze 4 days out of this one here. If I like track 1 hour of GPS every day or every other day, that would still be pretty okay. But of course, nothing really compared to a Garmin watch, either the 7X or even like the Epix. If you have always on screen turned on there, it's like more of a 5-day watch for me. if I do like 1 hour's activity every day. But anyways, let's get into this one. One little note there is that you can actually measure your wrist on the back side of the box. If you kind of hold your wrist between the line there, you can kind of see if you can actually accommodate this watch, if it fits your wrist. So the maximum is 70 millimeter and the minimum is 50 millimeters with the included band. But of course you can also switch that out. And let's just cut through the seal here. Let's begin with the one in the top here and then the seal here in the bottom. And let's have a closer look at this watch here. I'm kind of excited, but like I said, I'm not really sure I'm really going to keep it. I just need to try it out. Opening the box there, the lid definitely does have some weight to it. Inside, of course, you do have the watch itself, nicely presented here. But inside the lid is where you find your accessories. So, of course, you have this little box here with a compartment in the top and the bottom. Let's just look at the bottom compartment first. So it does have, of course, a charger included. I believe this one is actually steel, or the little puck there is actually steel, which is kind of nice. And also, if you kind of had the steel Apple Watches, you also get the little puck there in, I believe, or not steel, rather, it is aluminium, excuse me, but it is metal, this little puck here, which is kind of a nice little bonus. I really like that. And they also have faster charging this time around, I believe up to 10 watt. And the USB Type-C plug here, of course, in the other end. So you have to accommodate for that. There is no charger inside the box. So if you want to use the faster charging, you need to supply a fast charger that has USB Type-C. So you can hook it up and of course just charge it directly here with this little puck here. So I really like the fact that it's made of metal. Kind of makes it feel a little more sturdy, a little more high end. And like I said, if you had like the stainless steel Apple Watches, you also got that a little aluminum, polished aluminum, or was it steel actually, little puck there. So that's nice to see that Samsung is kind of copying that. Other than the box here, into the box we do get some quick start instructions and so on. Let's actually see what kind of paperwork we get. This is of course for the Scandinavian version or the Northern European version. So your mileage may vary, but you can see the different languages there, and you have a little quick start instructions, very small here. So you can see where the buttons are. So the back key is the lower button, the home key is the top button, and which also is the power button. And you can see how you can adjust the included silicone strap. I'm not really a big fan of silicone straps, so I'm probably gonna replace that pretty quickly, and so on and so on. And that's pretty much it. You get a warranty card in different languages as well. So let's get to the main guy here, which is of course the watch itself. We have a little pull tab there. You can pull it out of this casing, and that's pretty much all you get here in the box. Let's get rid of this one here. And man, first impressions, I really like this design. That's also one of the reasons why I kept coming back to this one here. I kind of debated with myself, like I said, if I should get it or not, and it's been in the shopping cart for many times and removed again from the shopping cart. I just couldn't really decide, but man, that design, I just couldn't really resist. Just looks so nice. Let's get a little closer here. So we have that recessed screen inside of the bezel there, which also doubles as a touchable area. So you can kind of scroll through your widgets, like with the older models that had like a physical twisting dial. This one, of course, is software based. So you kind of have to slide your finger around the edge of the screen to be able to switch between widgets, unless of course you just want to use your screen to swipe between them. So I kind of understand why Garmin did this, because you need to weather tighten your devices. It's much easier to do it like this, but also I kind of had a little bit issue with the Frontier model I had back in the days with the rotating bezel. Even though I really liked having the rotating bezel that I can go between the data screens, it was also kind of easy to bump into. So often when I just wearing the watch and I had long sleeve on, or bumped it into several things along the day, it will just kind of switch between my widgets because of the bezel there will just kind of twist accidentally. So I'm not really sure this is a better solution. I would rather just have more physical buttons, like with the Garmin watch there, maybe an up down button in the other side there. That would be kind of nice, so you can do all button navigation. But I definitely have to try this one out here and see how well it actually works. Supposedly it works just fine. And of course you have silicone straps, which is of course pre-applied or pre-attached here. And then of course we have that 20 millimeter band there, which is a quick fit band as well. So you can kind of quickly replace it with new bands. So that's kind of nice. And of course you can get either Samsung bands, or you can get any kind of third-party band I get in there. I'll probably get some of these 20 millimeter Yo-side bands and put up here, use with this watch here if I end up keeping it. But as of for now there, I'll probably just use this silicone band, even though I'm not really a big fan of silicone. Kind of give me a rash. But considering this watch maybe will last me 2, 3, maybe 4 days of battery life, I'll of course have to take it off more frequently than my Garmin watch, which is like maybe 2 times a month. so maybe I won't really develop a rash using this specific watch band here. And of course, the adjustment system is linear, so there is no predefined holes, so you can get a perfect fit for your wrist. And this is also from medium to large. I don't believe there's any like small included in the box here, so also probably one of the reasons why there is a kind of measurement table there on the back side of the box. So minimum 50 millimeter or maximum 70 millimeter. If of course your wrist is smaller than 50 millimeter, you should probably look at the smaller series of watches from Samsung. So get the regular 5 or even the 4. You can get those heavily discounted right now. Other than that, we do have a plastic backside and that new sensor array there, screw holes or screws, 4 screws on the bottom side. But the main watch frame here is made of titanium, which is a big upgrade in my opinion, or in my book, compared to like aluminum in the past. Do have those big, nice clicky buttons. Feels very nice to click. Of course, we have a microphone hole there on one side. I really like this design here. Very understated design, all black. Of course, this is just my personal taste. You'll probably see some scratches and things along the way, but yeah, I don't really mind that at all. And I'm also kind of curious to see how well this coating will actually work or hold up in time. I'm not really sure if this is diamond like carbon coating like it is on the Garmin watches, which also have a black titanium bezel around the watch face there. And on the other side here we do have speaker holes, so it does have speaker and microphone built in, so you can make phone calls and so on, which I really am missing from time to time. Just so convenient just to be able to answer a call if you just want to say something quick to your girlfriend, or I'm over here instead of, having to dig down and pull up your phone to do those kinds of things. And also this time around, this is WearOS, of course, so you can also have Google Pay or Android Pay on here. I really am looking forward to that. That's also been a big hindrance for me. I use pretty much exclusively my watch to pay. I use Garmin Pay, of course, when I'm Garmin, and Apple Pay when I'm Apple, but the Samsung watches have always had a little bit of a miss there in terms of its actual payment solution. Samsung Pay doesn't work in my country. Of course, we do also have some weather sealings, so down to 5 atmospheric pressures or ATM, and also I believe it's IP68 rated, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. So it can handle down to like 50 meters. And then of course we have the clasp, which is very nicely magnetically held in place, and a little piece of paper there. I really like that design. It also is titanium actually. Kind of surprised me a little bit. So it does have the titanium buckle there, 20 millimeter, or at least it's branded as titanium, but it definitely doesn't feel like aluminum or steel. And yeah, you just have that nice magnetic closure there, so it's very easy to get in and out of your watch. And we have that linear system there, so you can adjust exactly the width of your wrist. And let's just put it down on the table and actually start it up and see if there's any power on there. And of course, we'll set it up and just go through some of its features. Samsung, I'm not really sure if this is an adaptive screen that could go down to like 1 hertz or 1 frames per second, like on the Apple Watch Series 5 and newer. So if you have the always on screen, I'm not really sure if it shows constant, what is it, 30 or 60 hertz, or if it can actually go as low as 1 hertz or 1 frames per second. But yeah, that's also one of the things I'm going to try. I'm really want to try this always on. So that's definitely my goal. To begin with, secured by knock. And let's just try that rotating bezels. Actually not bad. You get nice haptic feedback actually when you're scrolling through here. So yeah, it doesn't feel all that awful. Of course, it doesn't really feel like a physical bezel that you're actually moving, but you can actually distinguish between the different clicks or the virtual click via the haptic feedback. So yeah, pretty nice, but you can of course also just scroll the screen like so. And let's just set it up with English. For now, I will just change it to my native language as later here. Continue in English. Yeah, let's do that. And I'll just select my country. I live in Denmark, so of course that's what I'm going to select. But of course, if you live in any of the other countries there, you of course have to select that one. But like I said, this is for the Northern European market, so your mileage may vary. But let's just restart. Welcome. Let's swipe up here. So get started in the Galaxy's wearable app on your phone. I already have that installed because I have a Samsung phone. Oh, actually it just popped up there. That's kind of cool. Not sure I actually need to go into the app. Let's just try and set it up there. Checking the number on your watch. Okay, yeah. Let's just confirm and move on to the next step there. Check your phone to complete the configuration. And then I just select language. Set the language to English, which is kind of weird. But anyways, downloading software. It's a 110 megabyte file. So let's just download and install that and move on with the setup process. Next step here is to accept whether you want automatic updates, or if you want to send diagnostic data to Garmin. I kind of like having that automatic update, so let's just enable that. But it is optional, and you can use Google Cloud syncing, the diagnostic reports to help improve WearOS. I don't really like that. Can I disable it? I can do so, yes. And location, so my watch can use your location. I kind of have that enabled because I want to use location services. Okay, making your watch ready. It can take a few minutes, and it's picking my information about my Google account. Let's just wait a little bit. So now I'm logging into my Google account. Just showed me my name and my email. Clicked on next, and now we are looking at this screen here. Of course, use a fingerprint to verify. Let's see what happens. At least up until this point, it has been very easy to set this one up. I remember back in the days with WearOS, it could be a little bit iffy to get up and running, but at least this time around, up until this point, it's been very easy. It found the watch automatically. Didn't really have to do anything. Then open my phone. Okay, this is from my old Frontier, my Gear S3. So I had that back in 2018. Of course, a backup from that one. I'm not gonna install this on this device here, so let's just skip that. But this is the last time I had a WearOS. That's 4 years ago. That was actually a Tyson watch, but a Samsung Galaxy Wear or Galaxy Watch. I'm not gonna configure the cellular description as of now, but I might use that in the future because this is the LTE version. Of course, if you have the non-LTE version, you will not see this screen here prompted you to set that up, and it's just completing the setup process right now. And again, up until this point, it's been very easy, actually a little bit surprising. Maybe we'll see like log into Samsung account or so on. And we are ready. So we are inside. Battery is at 86% here. You can see the kind of default watch face there. And which app is this actually? Okay, we're inside the Wear app. Let's go into the settings here for the watch. We are running the latest and greatest. So WearOS 3.5 and One UI 4.5 here. I believe this is the latest as of this video. And the system version is 11. And the Android security update is 1st of July 2022. And of course you have all of these settings here. So you have notifications, sound and vibration, screen. You can set this to always on. Automatic light adjustment, of course default, but you can have that always on screen. Let's just enable that. Lift to wake, touch to wake, media control, time out, and so on and so on. You can add high sensitivity for touching, and you can show charging information. So how long it will take to fully charge the watch. Of course, you can set various different sounds and so on. It's just on vibrate right now. And notifications. You can of course select which apps will actually show you notifications on the watch. Samsung Health, of course, where you will have to synchronize all of your health data. And you kind of have to accept some of these. No, but you have to allow it to get your physical data and so on. And let's just accept. So you can set some features up here from Samsung Health. See how often it will actually test for your heart rate, check your stress level, and so on and so on. Advanced features. So you can set here when you are actually sleeping. Double press will go to the latest app. Press and hold, you will go to Bixby. Short press, you will go to previous screen. You can also select movement to answer calls and reject calls and so on. Battery, I'm kind of curious to see how long kind of a battery life I can get with this one here. Like I said, I'm hoping like 3 days with maybe 1 hour tracking every day. That would be kind of cool. Apps pre-installed, because we have all those Samsung apps and Bixby, and I believe we also have actually, what is it, Outlook on there as well. Okay, kind of cool. Samsung Pay, like I said, doesn't work in my country, so not really something I can use, unfortunately. So I hope I can get Google Pay to work on this watch here. And we still have those 2 notifications apps. So we have like the Google messaging app, and we have Samsung's messaging app. So strange they have to include that on the watch as well, while you can just agree to use one of them. And we do have like 16 gigabytes of built-in storage on this device here. And you can of course select what kind of stuff you want to synchronize to the watch built-in storage. And where can I actually see how much storage I have out of the box? But anyways, you can also of course add a cellular subscription there. General, all the general settings in there. You can reset the watch and so on. You can enable talkback and other functionalities under this menu structure there, security and emergency. And in terms of storage right out of the box, you are only looking at 8.5 gigabyte available because yeah, all of the apps and so on and software installed on this watch here. So it doesn't really have super much storage available. Wouldn't it be nice to see 32 gigabytes of storage and the ability to have maps on the device itself, and it has 1.5 gigabytes of RAM as well. Let's see if there's actually any firmware updates, and if there is one, let's just install that. So we are completely up to date as of this video, as of 27th of August 2022. And the watch here is prompting me to take a tour. So let's just go through that. Let's hit start here and see what kind of tour we can take. So swipe down from the top. And again, I did select English when I set this watch up, but now it's in my native language. But swipe down from the top. You get, of course, all of the quick toggle settings there. Swipe down from the bottom and you'll get back to the watch face. Swipe down from the bottom and you can see all of your apps, and swipe down to, of course, go back to your watch face. Swipe right to get to your notifications. So pretty much the same Titan OS as my Frontier back in the days. And press here to open a notification, and swipe right from the edge there to go back, and swipe from the left to go back to the watch face. And then it'll probably take me to the widgets there. So yeah, you can go to the widgets, of course, by swiping from side to side. Press the start button here, go home. So I believe this is the home button. And that's pretty much it. So if there's the orange dot there on the left side here, you'll see there's new notifications you have to attend to. And can we just go back by selecting the back button? So you can see there's a little orange there button, or a little orange notification there on the left. Let's just go and see if there's a notification. You can get more tips and so on and so on. Go back there and go home here. And you can, of course, change the direction of your apps as well in the app tray there. But you can see all this pre-built applications here. So of course, notifications, and there's a lot of Samsung apps and even a Samsung Buds app. Kind of nice. And there is also an Outlook app. Let's just try that. And you can actually go in and see your calendar and your unread email. So kind of cool. Also kind of curious to see how many apps we actually do have on WearOS. This date, it wasn't really that impressive back in the days. But like I said, WearOS specific watches, it's been like more than 5 years since I've tried that. And now it gets into sleep mode. So this is the always on mode, is it? That's definitely not color. So it goes into kind of a monochrome mode. I'm not really sure, it's because I'm not wearing the watch. Yeah, so it seems like the always on screen is a monochrome screen. Don't really mind that too much, actually. As long as I can kind of see it in various different lighting conditions. I'm not really too curious about that or annoyed by that. But definitely there's a lot of glare on the screen. I don't know if you can actually see this, because it is a sapphire screen. Not really sure what kind of sapphire screen, if it's kind of a composite sapphire screen like on Apple watches, or if it's a true sapphire screen like on the Garmin watches there. But you can see also a lot of reflections. So that's one of the downsides with the sapphire screen. But of course, on the positive note, it is much harder to scratch. So if for a watch that you're wearing on your wrist, that is definitely a nice added trade-off there. Let's just go through the widgets. Let's see how well it actually works. This scroll feature there, actually not bad. You can scroll fast, you can scroll slow through those widgets, but I'm kind of curious to try out the different activity modes here. So let's go into more. I believe we can go through all of the activity modes there, and yeah, you can still use that swiping bezel there, and you have to agree to use, of course, location services. So let's go into hiking actually. So this is hiking. I'm curious to actually see if there is any kind of mapping inside the default hiking application, or if I need to use a third-party application, which kind of suck. And why couldn't I really? Oh, okay, it's just telling me that I can kind of swipe to the left to pause it. I can press and hold the back button to continue a workout, or pause it. Ah, it goes straight into the workout. Okay, it doesn't take me to the activity screen first. And yeah, I can swipe there if I want to pause it. And I can swipe on the right side if I want to go into the music. And also one of the things I'm kind of curious to see if I can get, or test if I can get YouTube music on there. I can't really use that on my Garmin watch. Miss it a little bit, but I do have my phone with me when I'm actually out and running. Okay, let's just go back and see what kind of data fields we have here in the hiking activity. It's actually tracking my heart rate, but I'm not really touching the watch at all. So that's kind of impressive. And another thing I also want to test, probably not in this video, but in a future video, if I can actually pair heart rate or chest straps to this watch here. But of course it does have that built-in heart rate on the bottom. But yeah, this is very, very basic. There's no mapping or anything. Let's see if we can actually get into some kind of settings. So settings there. So workout screens. I can have data screen 1. Okay, I can actually select between different layouts. I didn't really think you could do so, but it's just a default layout. And you can kind of see a little bit of a screen here of what you're actually getting. Let's try and split it up there. And okay, so you can see like a detail or a example of what you are kind of getting there. And you can actually go what is that, 6 data screens. Pretty okay actually. You can actually get mapping on here, and data screen 2, you can also go in and select what kind of data field you want here. So that's kind of nice actually. Didn't really expect that. Pretty basic still, but you can actually get your altitude and so on. And then you have the heart rate zone. So you do have 2 data screens, but there is no mapping, at least what I can tell by this one here. So you kind of probably have to load in GPX files, specific files. I rarely do that. Just go out and kind of park at the edge of the forest. Then I'll start my tracking and maybe go for 1 or 2 hours. When it's time to go back, I'll just kind of use my map on my watch to kind of track me back. And if I get lost, I can use the track back feature, which this watch also has, but I believe only for GPS X routers as well. So there's a little bit unfortunate, but still you do get a little more customizability than what I at least remember you did with Apple Watches, which was pretty locked out of the box. You couldn't really set data fields up the same way as you can here. So it's kind of a little bit hybrid between like a Garmin and a smartwatch in data field, but you can of course track back as well, but like no map on the device itself, which is what I primarily use. So I probably have to use another application to do so. And of course, let's just stop this one here. And this was a 3-minute hike, and it did track my heart rate, which is kind of impressive because I wasn't really wearing a watch. And can we actually delete it from here or what? I'm not really sure we can do so, but we can of course show it on the phone. And this is our activity. And from here, I believe we can of course delete it, but yeah, you can see what kind of heart rate zones you were in, how much time, how many calories, your altitude, or how much you climbed and how much you descend doing that walk here or hike. Kind of get a little bit of a heart rate graph there as well. And let's just see if we can actually delete it. No, I'm not really sure how to delete an activity, but anyways, let's get back into activity and see how run is looking. Okay, where is the activity app? Okay, so you have to kind of find the widget to get into an activity. Is that right? Okay, so you have to find that widget here, but let's just go into run. Of course, if you hit the run icon there, you will just go straight into a run. Not really sure you're actually logged onto satellites or anything. You just start out automatically, but this is of course the default watch faces. So you kind of had the heart rate there. It would actually tell you if you are running asymmetrically, like how much load you have on left and right side. That is kind of neat if it works properly, or if it's accurate rather. Let's go and see what kind of data screens we can get. So we still only have those 2 data screens, but here you have the asymmetrical screen as well. And I believe this is exactly the same layout wise. You can do up to 6 data screens. And of course you can go here and select which one. So that duration, you have time, you have calories, you have heart rate, average heart rate, maximum heart rate, speed, average speed, this is speed, and this is pace, of course. So you have pace, you have speed, you have average speed, you have distance, steps, cadence, and maximal VO2 in percentages. That's actually not bad, but probably a little lackluster for some, but I'm not really the most advanced runner, so this is actually adequate for me. I kind of just go for heart rate or for speed or pace when I'm out and doing my activity. So this will be enough for me personally, but the mapping there is just something I will definitely miss. Not so much when running, but definitely when I'm doing my hiking. So a little bit unfortunate. Let's just end this one here, check the summary, and let's just actually go and see it on my phone and see if the run activity is a little bit different. Okay, this one will show you the cadence instead of the heart rate graph, at least at default. And of course you need to use the watch to get the maximum VO2. Oh, it will also estimate how much sweat you have actually lost. Kind of a neat little feature there. And in the details, it will show you the duration, how many calories you have burned in total, and how many calories you burned in active training, and also how much you have actually climbed. So the lowest height and the maximum height. Not bad actually, a little bit surprised, at least right out of the bat. Let's just test out some of the applications here. Let's go into Google Play here and see if we'd actually find some hiking applications, and maybe try that little keyboard if that actually works. And you can swipe up to change the input. So you can select keyboard, you can just have smileys, you can also just write on the screen. Of course, you can have numbers and you can also dictate, but let's just try and actually write on the screen. Hiking. Okay, we have Komoot on there, or Komoot. We have Strava. We have outdoors activity. We have U Rangers on there. Okay, we actually have quite a few apps. Under Armour, so Komoot seems to be like the most used one. Let's try and install it and see how well it actually works. But we do also, of course, have Google Maps on here. So I guess you could start a route there, or at least you could find your way back if you were kind of lost there. But it would have been so nice to be able to use mapping inside a tracking application, either for running or for hiking. I know you can load in your GPX tracks, and you can do that using the widget here where it says route. Oh, excuse me, it's a little finicky there. You can of course import GPX files there, but like I said, I don't use it like that. I just kind of go out and track my activity. But you can see in here, you can kind of import GPX files. Anyways, let's just see if we actually have Komoot installed, and that was pretty fast. Open it up. We need, of course, the smartphone application as well. Let's download and install that. So it's still kind of depending on your phone as well. Also a little annoying. I do have my phone with me when I go hiking, but I do also kind of like the Garmin ecosystem where everything is on the watch itself. You don't really need to bring a phone. But anyways, let's just log in here. Okay, so I kind of made an account here on Komoot. I don't think I've tried it before. Let's just see if we can actually go in here and just record a tour. Of course, that's what we're going to do. Record a hike. And you can see it starts tracking my hike. And of course, it needs to establish connection there. But it is definitely tracking my hike on the phone itself. I can't really see any mapping on the device here. Correct me if I'm wrong, so I can only really start to track on my phone. This is a little annoying. I hope I can find at least an application that can actually track and at the same time use the watch itself, like work outdoors for Apple Watch. If there's anything like that on the WearOS ecosystem, let me know down in the comments below, because I'm still pretty new to this one. But this is definitely okay, but I kind of need my phone to kind of see the map and also to track back and so on.
Your phone's GPS signal is lost. Your recording will continue, but your position on the map is unknown.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that. But anyways, let's just stop this one here, and it will stop it. We just delete it. No, let's just hit finish and record. No GPS data recorded. Yes, I know. God damn it. Okay, so that's a little annoying, but I, like I said, had to try it out a little bit more. Let's get into the applications here on the phone itself. So we do, of course, have Samsung Health. Haven't used this in many years now, but of course, now I have the watch here. This is kind of the place where you go and check out all of your information. So of course you can see your daily steps, calories burned, and so on. You get those little lines there, kind of reminiscent of Apple, but of course in a little heart shape instead. How many steps you're taking throughout the day. You can see your training activity or history. You can see the two we started today, so running and hiking, and how many calories you burned or eaten today. You can of course set that. If you have, for instance, a breakfast, you can set how many calories or what kind of stuff you eat. So you can also track your food and so on, which is kind of nice. Your heart rate, is this the current heart rate, or is this just the general heart rate or average heart rate throughout the day? I'm not sure. And of course, stress, body composition. So you can of course do that on the watch itself. Check how much fat you have in your body and so on. I have a scale to do that, so I'm not really going to use this. On this watch here, you can of course track your water, and you can also kind of see your blood oxygen level. And of course you can share with your friends and family. I'm not really sure I know anybody that actually uses Samsung Health, and there's also kind of activities in here or workouts, so you can kind of do that at home or what. Yeah, actually pretty neat. Maybe stream it to your TV and of course track it on your watch. And then we have of course all my stuff here. I believe this data is from the last time I actually had my Samsung Galaxy watch. Wasn't it called Samsung Galaxy Gear back then? Back in 2018 I had the Frontier Samsung Gear S3. Not bad at all, but of course this is just the first impression. Kind of need to use your device a little bit to actually find those little quirks and annoyances and so on. But this is of course Samsung Health, and the other app was the Samsung Wear or Galaxy Wearables, which is kind of a place for all of your wear. So if you have like a headphone from Samsung and so on, this is kind of where you'll find all that. And this is of course where you also go in and set your different watch faces. And I believe you can download watch faces from the store, and you can also of course use the Samsung one. I'm probably just gonna stick with the Samsung one because downloading watch faces can often introduce issues like battery drain, and maybe it's not really written all that well, so it will slow down the watch a little bit. Same for my Garmin watches. I pretty much always just stay with the ones from Garmin themselves. It usually works the best. But you have the graphical ones here that looks nice. Of course, a lot of color and so on. Nifty ones, and you have informative ones. This is of course the ones as is installed right now. I'm probably going to use one of the ones with a little more complications. Let's just try this one because I accidentally hit that one. Oh, it actually only took a few seconds. You can kind of see the weather conditions. It is raining right now, so kind of see that there. And of course you get a little bit of a weather forecast, which is kind of nifty. But the ones I've been eyeballing a little bit is actually this one here. So you can get like battery status, get your heart rate, but can you actually also adapt this one so you can set different kinds of applications here? So you have suggestions, but you can also change color for the watch, but you can also go into complications there and select what kind of app you should have for different complications. So complication 1 there, complication 2, have battery, but 1, my daily steps. But for instance, if I wanted to show weather forecast, whether it's raining or not, that could be kind of useful. Or let's just take sunrise, sunset. That's also one of the complications I always have. So remember to turn on the light on my car. Just save that. So you can kind of track whenever the sun is setting here. And of course, the sun will rise again. Kind of neat. And let's just see, actually, you can also change the applications on the watch face itself. Let's go to complication 5, which is the one that shows weather down here. Let's see what kind of stuff we can actually get there. That's a little more limiting. So you can kind of get weather, sunrise, sunset, chances of rain. So yeah, of course, have to mess around a little bit more with that, but this is the informative ones. There's quite a few of those as well. You got something that's more focused on your health. And these are just the default ones. You can of course add more, like said, from the App Store. Classical ones kind of look like a chronographic watches, and the more simple ones as well. And you have the more basic ones. And these are downloadable or these are downloaded. So the ones that are downloaded on the watch. And yeah, you can go and download more on the Google Play Store as well. It's a little arrow there, and you can go in and see specific watch faces. So there should be plentiful to get you up and running. I'll just stick with the default ones, or the ones that are supplied by Samsung to begin with. And you can go in here if you want to just remove some of them. You long press on the watch face there, and you can just switch from the watch itself. And you can also add another one from the watch itself. So all the default one here is already installed or ready to go. That's pretty neat. You can do that on the watch itself. App screen is of course something you can also mess around with here with the Wear apps. So if you want to change direction, or if you want to like move an app, can you do that as well? And you can just change the direction of the app. So if you want to commute there instead, you'll just move that up there, and you can see it just switched place there. And of course, if you want it back or change any other applications, just do so right there pretty easily. And of course, you have all the widgets you can set up using the app as well. So these are just default widgets that you have pre-installed. Of course, if you go back here and you go towards the right, you can see all of those widgets there. You can add new ones. You can see all the widgets. There is like food, steps, together, water, weather, world clock, and of course for your Samsung Galaxy Buds, for instance, let's just add that one. So it's all the way to the right now. And let's hit save. And now we should see your Samsung Galaxy Buds app or widget there. So that's kind of nice. You can quickly toggle those around and set it up using your watch, but you can also just use the app, but you can also just use the watch here if you want to kind of change the direction of these widgets here. Quick panel, kind of the same as you have with an Android phone, when you swipe down to kind of see your quick settings. Of course, you can change direction there and as well add more. There's only like these 4 more available, but you can go through those and of course change how you want them set up. Kind of neat as well. Settings for your watch, we did go through that previously. You can find your watch, you can have tips, and you can also of course go into your store as well. But that's pretty much all I have for this video, I would say. So we went through the watch faces, the activity modes, or data screens, and setting up this watch here. Kind of go through some of these features and settings and storage out of the box. And also of course this unboxing itself. I'm not really sure where to go from here, other than of course spending more time with the watch, try it out, and maybe I'll keep it or maybe I will return it. I'm not, like I said, 100% sure yet. So far, first impressions actually impressed me a little bit. Very easy to set up, a lot of functionalities on the watch itself, and of course I have to dig in a little deeper with all those applications, see if I can find one that can actually track me with an active map, topo map on the watch itself. It's definitely kind of a deal breaker if I cannot find one of those. And of course I'll go out and track my run today. I plan to go for like an hour run or so. I'll bring this one with me and my Garmin watch as well. And I'll probably get back in a future video kind of talking about if I'll actually keep it or if I'll end up returning this watch here. So I have been using the watch now for a few days, or I actually recorded the initial unboxing video on a Saturday, and now it is Monday, and I've had one full charge through this watch here, or charged it up to 100% yesterday. You can see now it is at 42% right there. So it, for me, probably is more like a 1 day watch, maybe 1.5 day watch. Let me just get it off my wrist and let's have a little bit of a closer look. Let's just get into actual battery here and see what has actually been draining my battery. So I charged it up to 100% for 22 hours and 29 minutes ago as of recording this video. I do have always display on, and you can see that took around 8.3% of the battery. Screen 3.3%. I did record one activity with GPS, a 40-minute run. So of course that used a little bit of power, but I actually didn't really use that much power, so it surprised me a little bit there. But of course I only was using GPS, I was not streaming music from the watch itself. And I did end up actually installing a third-party watch face for this watch here, because I feel like the built-in watch faces was not really all that designed to use always on display. Some of them would just be on all the time. Didn't really get into like a lower power mode, maybe lowered the brightness a little bit. But anyway, so I ended up using this one here, Chester Inform LCD. It cost me around $1, and I kind of like that watch face. I sent a few text messages, just sent them through my phone using Bluetooth, and I've been trying to stream or listen to some music. I downloaded some music and I listened to it over Bluetooth, so locally on my watch. And I do have all of my tracking set to constantly track my heart rate and also my stress level. And as of last night, I did activate the eSIM in here, but I've not really used it other than for testing. And you can see all the other applications there I've kind of used a little bit, or used a little bit of a power, and 41% left after 23-ish hours of use. Of course, like Semper devices, it takes maybe a week or so to actually learn how you use your watch, and then it will kind of optimize some apps a little bit. So you could expect a little bit better. This is just a first impression after using it for a few days and after using it after one full charge cycle. And one last thing I forgot to mention here is actually the charge time. I have it connected to my fast charger here. This is a Beseus charger. It should be able to supply the 25 watt of fast charging that is needed to actually charge this watch fast. And you can see here it's 37%. And it takes 1 hour and 20 minutes to charge this watch. So it doesn't really seem to fast charge all that fast, really. I'm not really sure if I need another charger than this specific one here. Maybe it's not really capable of delivering fast charge, but 1 hour and 20 minutes for like 60% of battery is definitely not fast in my opinion. So like I said, I do have always on display enabled. I do have it on automatic brightness, although I find that this toggle there sometimes just disables itself, so I have to go in and enable it again. I'm not really sure why. And if you look at the quick toggles here, there's no real indicator that it's on auto brightness. So only way you can really tell if it's the screen is a little bit dim, and you can go in here and check if it's enabled. I had to manually enable that a few times. And like I said here under Samsung Health, I do have heart rate to measure all the time. It's set to 10 minutes, I believe, by default. And of course, stress level, I have that to measure that all the time as well. I've disabled blood oxygen on the sleep. I did enable it the first night I slept, but it like drained like 20% of the battery of the watch, so it's not really worth it in my opinion. And I have enabled registering of snoring always. So if I will snore, then it will kind of course record that. I believe it record that locally on the watch. And yeah, I have all these activity settings turned on. And first off, let's just look at some results doing my activity, just using the watch. And I also had my Garmin watch with me that was paired up with my heart rate sensor, because that's one thing that I found out pretty quickly, that the Galaxy Watch doesn't support any heart rate sensors. I do have an Polar H10 which supports Bluetooth, but I was not able to pair it up with the watch. Actually, the watch didn't find that Bluetooth sensor at all. So heart rate sensor is not natively supported on the watch, but you can download some third-party applications to track your activities and then pair it up with a heart rate sensor. But natively, Samsung Health doesn't support that, and the watch itself doesn't as well, which is a little unfortunate. I believe Samsung back in the days even supported N+ on some of their phones, so you can pair it up with like the heart rate sensors and so on. But It's just not enabled on the watch at all. And I just want to show you a few activities I did using the watch and also my Garmin watch as a reference. First off, let's just take this longer run here. This run here was on a Saturday, so same day as I got the watch. Almost tracked a full hour here, and you can see kind of the statistics here. They're actually pretty accurate, like compared to the Garmin watch. Like the average pace here, 6 minutes 04 kilometers an hour, or minute, excuse me, and 6:05 kilometers a minute here on my Garmin watch. Maximum speed was like 4 minutes and 47 on Samsung, and 4 minutes 54 on the Galaxy or the Garmin watch here on the right. And you can see in terms of cadence as well, they're pretty agreeable here. Samsung Watch 5 Pro 163, and on my Garmin Fenix 7X 166, and max cadence they're again pretty close to each other at 176 versus 177. Like in terms of altitude here, yeah, they're a little bit off. Like the lowest height was like -4 meters. I did go low, so that's at least accurate that I was lower than my starting point. And the highest was 10 meters above sea level, of course, versus this one here on the Garmin, 17 meters was like the lowest point and 32 meters was the maximum point. So I lived pretty high up, so that's probably more accurate, but at least it was tracking that I was kind of getting a little bit lower in altitude. And again, on heart rate, on my Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, of course, I used just the built-in heart rate sensor underneath the watch. And on my Garmin Fenix 7X, I was using a Polar H10 chest strap, so a very accurate chest strap. And you can see its average heart rate was 159 on both of them, so pretty spot on, and especially in terms of the Samsung watch, very impressive actually. And the maximum heart rate was 177 and 176 on the Samsung watch, so very, very close to each other. Actually, when I was out and doing my run, I did see the Samsung track a little bit lower, so I think it is maybe a little bit slower at kind of showing what is actually tracking by the sensor on the watch itself, because when you see here, they are pretty comparable between the two. And you can also kind of see the heart rate chart there between the two. Looks pretty comparable, I would say. And actually the Samsung just picked up its pace right in the beginning. So been very, very good, very accurate for the 2 runs I have used it for right now. So definitely thumbs up there. In terms of expected sweat loss, you can see the Samsung is definitely a little bit higher there at 1462 versus Garmin at 943 milliliters. So they don't agree how much sweat I actually lost. It was very humid day, so I was actually sweating quite a lot. And in terms of distance, they are also very close to each other at 929 kilometers on my Samsung watch and 932 kilometers on the Garmin watch. And Garmin definitely has probably a little bit better GPS chip, so I believe that is the most accurate one. But you can see they are just so close, so yeah, within a few meters of distance between each other. And in terms of actually tracking me with GPS, the Samsung watch did a pretty good job. You can see there is a little jagged around edges or around corners here, versus the Garmin watch, you know, pretty smooth. And I am running on the trail here, so it is definitely picking the right trail I'm running on. But you can see here, for instance, the Samsung is definitely tracking me quite well on that specific trail I am running. But you can see there are corners. It does get a little bit off compared to the Garmin. It kind of looks a little bit maybe like a Fenix 6 watch in terms of its actual tracking. Maybe a little bit better actually, but you can see here comparing to the Garmin, the Samsung watch is just a little off. You can see it just runs off the trail right there. I am running on the trail here. The Garmin watch a lot better, but definitely not bad at all. And you can also see that the distance or the overall distance is pretty comparable. And actually when I was running, I did have a 1 kilometer lap enabled on both of them, so it will kind of vibrate whenever they will record 1 kilometer, and they were pretty comparable. The Samsung was often a little bit later, maybe up to 10 seconds later, but they were pretty comparable between the two, and sometimes they were totally agreeing on the amount of distance I had run. Like one of the more difficult areas always on this run here is around this specific corner there. On my previous Garmin 6 watches, it will kind of just go through there. It wouldn't really track according to the trail at all, but you can see there actually the Samsung watch here on the left did pretty good job. It was losing a little bit around the corners there, but other than that, pretty good job. But you can see the Garmin there is just remarkable, and it's just gotten so good compared to like last generation. But I must say I'm pretty impressed You can see they're going back. It didn't really record the exact same place going out and going back. Neither of them was kind of accurate there, but you can see the Garmin pretty spot on in terms of actually tracking the same place out and back. But I would say definitely usable and definitely is quite good in terms of GPS tracking. And the same thing can be said about the run I did yesterday. You can see in terms of distance, Samsung did record this as a 6 kilometer run, Garmin at 5.99 kilometers, so pretty agreeable there. So average pace again, they're pretty comparable, 6:29 on Samsung, 6:31 on Garmin. Best pace, they are a little bit off. As you can see, the Samsung is 5:48 versus 6 straight here on my Garmin. I believe Garmin is a little bit more accurate. And this is a very slow run. And I did this run because there is a lot of different environments. So there are some tree lines, there is elevation up and down as well. And some parts are not really the best for GPS signal. Some parts are pretty good for the GPS signal. But anyways, I would say definitely is more than usable with the Samsung watch. See the average cadence, they're pretty agreeable, 164 versus 166. And maximum cadence, again, very close to each other at 173 versus 175. And heart rate, again, I'm very kind of impressed by the sensor of the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Seem to be very accurate, and you can see here it's spot on. Again, I am running with the H10 chest strap from Polar, very accurate chest strap here on my Garmin watch. And you can see the heart rate there, average at 145, exactly the same. And 161, again, exactly the same. But this is a very slow run, easy run. I haven't had time to go out and do some interval sessions as of yet. But I'm not really sure I will really do that because, yeah, I'm a little on the fence if I should actually keep this watch. And in terms of GPS tracking for my second run here, you can see it's not 100% on the trail there, but the Garmin is not so either. I am running the same trail 2 times just to see how well it will overlay each other. And you can see Samsung doesn't really overlay on top of each other. It seems to be just one track there for some reason. But you see Garmin there is definitely overlaying the 2 tracks. And you can see it does definitely miss a few corners. Like over here, it's kind of one of the harder areas for GPS. There's a lot of tree lines in the way here. And we also getting lower towards the sea level, so running downhill here. And you can see it is definitely losing a lot of corners, compared to Garmin there, which is just spot on. Again, Samsung kind of looks a little bit like the Garmin Fenix 6 series, which wasn't really all that great all the time, but I would say actually a little bit better. And you can see the tracking on the trail. Garmin, very nice here. The Samsung is pretty fine, or pretty okay. And again, one area that's a little bit difficult is here. I'm running inside this trail here. You can see the ones here from Garmin. And you can see this one is a little bit all over the place and doesn't really track my corner there as well. Just kind of run through here. So yeah, this is, I don't know, for some reason, a kind of difficult run for some GPS. But you can see on my Garmin Fenix 7X here, it's just spot on. And this is just excellent to see because, yeah, you can see here how well the Samsung watch is drifting a little bit, and this is, like I said, a very slow run, so it's not really because I'm running fast or anything like that, doing any kind of interval training. It is very, very slow run. But in terms of its overall distance, they're pretty comparable, and I did not wait for GPS fix on my Samsung watch for this one here. I did so on the first run, but on the second one, I just clicked on run and just started running once the counter hit it 0. Versus Garmin here, I did have a GPS fix once before I actually went out and do my run. I just wanted to see how quickly it will actually log onto satellites, and I'm kind of impressed by the Samsung watch. So definitely very usable and very accurate, at least for these 2 runs here in terms of heart rate and also GPS. I think it is definitely enough for a smartwatch, but unfortunately for me personally, I feel like this is not a watch that would going to replace my trusted Garmin watch. Also, one of the things I don't really like about it is it's just so small on my wrist. I didn't really take that into a consideration, but it is a 45mm watch, but it is kind of a small watch compared to like a Garmin Fenix 7X watch, which is of course a relatively big watch, but it looks very small on my wrist. And at the same time, the watch band only is 20mm. This is actually a 22mm that I have lying around, a Yoside 22mm. I just put some 20mm watch splits in here, and this watch band is actually okay, I feel like, on a watch like this. But you can also get this in 20mm sizes, and it will just be even slimmer than that. So Actually, a little too slim and small watch for me. I wish they will kind of make one at the size of a 7X, like a Pro Plus or something like that. That would be kind of cool with an even bigger battery. I will definitely go and buy that, and maybe even with a brighter screen, because that's one thing I noticed with this one here. And I do have a Garmin Epix Gen 2, even though this one is going back because of a faulty button. I have been using AMOLED screen or OLED screens out doing my activities in the sunny days and so on. So I have a little bit of experience, but this watch here always felt a little bit dim to me. And this was not even on a bright sunny day. This was a cloudy day, though it wasn't really that complicated scenario. The screen brightness wasn't up to 100%. It was like at 80-85%. I had the automatic screen brightness turned on. Still, I felt like the brightness was a little bit dim for my liking. And I see maybe in sunny weather conditions, it could be pretty hard to actually read what's on this watch here. So that's one minor annoyance, and some other issues I've had with this watch here. You can see now I have always on screen turned on, and this is a watch face that kind of utilizes that quite well. But a lot of the built-in watch faces from Garmin actually are pretty bad at using always on display. For instance, this one here is called Digital Dashboard, which is one of the watch faces I kind of was interested in trying out. This watch face goes into sleep mode. It still is kind of bright. I wish that actually it would maybe dim some of those components down a little bit more, especially at night. It is very noticeable that it is shining quite a bit. I feel like Samsung could do a little bit better. And also in terms of all the complications you can kind of have on a watch like this, not really that impressive, especially like the middle complication here, which now is set to weather. You cannot even set this to like open an application, for instance, like workout. Maybe you could have a run or a walk session there. So you can just quickly press those and we'll go into a run or a walk activity. But no, you can only like have calendars, your steps, some weather information, and some watch information. So that's very limiting. I feel like Samsung could do a little bit better here at optimizing those watch faces so you can have more complications and also more features in those complications. Or widgets, yeah, the watch face there that I kind of wanted to try or to use, it ended up not really becoming my daily watch face. So I ended up going in and downloading some from the Google Play Store. There's just so many in there. This one, I kind of just like the layout, and also the fact that it has a true always on display. So when it's always on and you're not actively using the watch, you'll kind of only see this, and you can kind of set it up to how much detail you want to see on that watch face. I really like that, even though it is still a little bit actually annoying at night. So probably should disable always on display at night. You can set it to kind of go into a sleep mode, which I have enabled. But anyway, another annoying thing is the fact that I cannot remap the Samsung Pay shortcut. You know, you long press the back button here and it will open Samsung Pay. Samsung Pay does not work in my country, but Google Pay does work. And you can kind of install it on the watch here and make it work. Works quite well actually. You can install Wallet there, Google Wallet. But the only button you can actually map to that is the home button. If you double tap that one, you can open Google Wallet. But then you lose the ability to actually go back to the previous app, which is also a very useful thing to have, because it can be a little bit cumbersome if you're inside an app and you kind of need to do something else and you want to get back into the app. You kind of have to find a little icon there to go back into it. There's no real kind of multitasking on the watch here, at least not to my knowledge. So that's a little bit unfortunate that I cannot just remap this key long press to actually use whatever kind of payment solution I want. On a positive note though, ECG is working in my country, and I've just tested it out and it worked just fine. Although there is a little bit of an annoyance there with ECG. Kind of have to install a third-party application from Samsung, so called Samsung Health Monitor, to be able to actually look at those ECG. And you can see here I took this one yesterday and it seemed to be fine. There's no sign of heart flimmer, so that's good. So ECG is working, and you should also be able to test your blood pressure, but then you need a measuring device to measure your blood pressure and kind of calibrate it to the watch, and you kind of continuously have to calibrate it. So not really sure this is really worth it. Not something I'm personally going to use, but the EKG is actually working, or ECG as like Apple is calling it. But yeah, it is working on this watch here in Scandinavia, so that's kind of nice. Sleep tracking also seems to work quite well. Maybe not up to the level of Garmin watches. For instance, here my sleep last night, I did wear the Galaxy Watch 5 on my right wrist and the Fenix 7X on my left wrist, and you can see it doesn't really agree too much on the actual sleep time. So 6 hours pretty much an hour between the two. Let's kind of look at the stages here. Awake, again, not agreeing there totally. REM sleep, 1 hour and 32 on Garmin, 1 hour 51 on Samsung. Light sleep, 3 hours and 55 minutes on Samsung and 4 hours 48 minutes on the Garmin. And deep sleep, only got 22 minutes on Samsung and 1 hour and 22 minutes on the Fenix 7X. I have a tendency to believe the Fenix 7X is a little bit better. It's not really perfect either. So if we go into that one here from Withings, which is a pretty accurate sleep measuring device you have under your mattress. As you can see, this one says 7 hours and 43 minutes, 7 hours and 48 minutes. So they're pretty agreeable on the actual time. Of course, the sleep stages, maybe not 100% agreeable there. Kind of see here, it did pick up the times that I was actually in my REM sleep. Pretty comparable there, maybe not 100% identical, but I would say in terms of sleep tracking, the Withings is probably the most accurate one here. Garmin is second on the list and Samsung is a little bit off, but it will give you some kind of an estimate of how you've slept last night. It's not perfect, but maybe it will get better when you actually have that temperature sensor enabled underneath the watch, and it's definitely not the worst I have seen. It is, I say, pretty usable. In terms of just using the watch, I'm not totally in love with that digital crown there. It works quite well, but it's a little bit laggy. So if I want to just go one step further forward here, I kind of have to hold it a long time. Maybe I'm not really that visible right now, but sometimes it can take a second or two for the watch to actually catch up. That's my general experience with this watch here. It doesn't really feel all that snappy at times. Like opening an application like the weather, you can see it takes a few seconds to actually get into the weather. And sometimes when you get into settings, opening specific areas of the settings, for instance, going into battery settings here, can sometimes take a few seconds, kind of get into those settings. And some applications, for instance, found that music here, YouTube music, can be a little bit slow at times at actually loading its content. So it takes a few seconds for the app to actually open, and once you're inside the app, take a few seconds for it to actually load the content. And actually there should be some thumbnails here or some images on those buttons. And you can see that it takes a few seconds again before those images actually load in to the watch. So yeah, overall the watch doesn't feel all that snappy, and yet also have exactly the same CPU and GPU as last generation. So there's not really any improvements there. Same amounts of memory and only 16 gigabytes of storage. And speaking of storage, I have installed some music on here, and I have already used more than 10 gigabytes of storage. So less than 6 gigabytes available, because I have like downloaded a lot of songs. Kind of wanted to download more songs, but yeah, kind of using a lot of storage there. So I wish that at least it would have like 32 gigabytes of storage and also built-in maps, because the only way to really get maps on here while you're doing an activity, I found the app here called Outdoor Active, just for tracking your hiking. This one actually does have a map when you are actually tracking your hikes. Komoot didn't really have that. And if you go into the app here, you can start tracking, and you can start tracking on your phone, but you can also track on the watch itself. So yeah, you can track your hiking here, and you can also get a map. I kind of have censored that because I don't, of course, want to show you my location, but they have a pretty decent topo map on there, but it's very slow at actually loading in your data. It can take quite a few seconds to actually load in that actual map. And you can, of course, get a little more detail about your current hike. So this actually works quite well, I would say. But again, I wish that it has something like this natively supported on the watch, and that you can actually have maps on the watch itself, so you're not, well, like dependent on pulling in data from your phone. But I definitely think that this is the best app I have tried if you want to have mapping on there and tracking your hikes. Better than the Komoot app, because Komoot app doesn't really have mapping on the device itself. So it only just shows you distance, and it doesn't really show anything else. So that's pretty lackluster. You can kind of stop it, pause it, and there's no real mapping on the watch itself. Of course, you do have Google Maps on here, which could be kind of useful, and it is kind of slow to actually pull in the map with Google Maps here, but it is definitely a usable app. I kind of like having this on my watch, so you can kind of get turn-by-turn navigation on the watch itself if you're driving or walking or anything like that. Great little feature, but again, everything just feels a little bit sluggish on this watch here. So overall, I don't think I could use this as my daily smartwatch. I kind of like it. I like to have those proper notifications turned on, so I'll get images and so on what people send to me with text and throughout various apps. And that's also another issue I have. For instance, there's no native Telegram app on this watch here, which is what I use quite a lot, or Skype for that instance. For messages, you only really have SMS, which is a little bit unfortunate in my opinion. There's not a lot of app support for WearOS as of this video, at least. In terms of third-party like messaging applications, you can of course get your notifications on the watch, but then you need to be tied to your smartphone. And if you want to use this watch as a standalone phone/watch, if you have enabled the eSIM capabilities of this watch here, you cannot really get notification from Skype or Telegram or whatever kind of those services you use, only really through text messages. And I couldn't really get text messages working on LTE, unfortunately, on the watch itself, only really when I hooked up to my phone. That begs the question for me personally, if I'm going to keep this watch or not. It's not really going to replace my Garmin watch for any kind of sports activity tracking or hiking and so on. This is just so much of a better tool. But in terms of smartwatch functionality, that's definitely where it's lacking. And I kind of miss some of this more smart advanced features this watch here can provide, like answering calls and so on the watch itself. But I am debating with myself whether I should actually keep it, because as of now, I am actually running with a phone here. This is just the Samsung S22, the standard model. And I bought specifically the smaller Samsung phone because I do have an S22 Ultra. But I feel this is just too big and too heavy to run with for my specific use case. So I bought a smaller phone specifically to run, so I can listen to music through my phone. I can get in contact with the outside world, and of course the outside world can get in contact with me when I'm out doing my activity. And also from time to time I could share my actual run with family and friends, doing either a Strava with Beacon or what is it, Light Track or so it's called with Garmin watches. But I'm considering myself whether I should just actually use this watch here instead of carrying a phone with me. So just for streaming music, and so my girlfriend, family and so on can get in contact with me when I'm out doing my run, can call me on the watch, and also I can of course call home or call for help if I should be in a need to do so. Hopefully not. But you can see it is definitely a lot smaller in terms of footprints compared to chugging around with a phone like this, as S22 is still kind of a big phone. And I definitely do feel the heft when I have this in my running pants. Mostly I just use a storage I have around my waist in a belt to carry my phone and my keys. But maybe I could just leave this at home, have an enabled SIM card in this one here, and stream music with YouTube music, which is what I'm using. Definitely makes me kind of want to keep this watch, even though I paid more for this watch than I actually did for this phone here. But then on the positive side, I can kind of use the same number because it is tied to my main SIM card of my main phone here. And I just pay a little bit extra a month to actually have a smart number, as what they call it, on my watch here. So when I'm out of reach of my phone, people calling my main number will still be able to get in touch with me. So for me, I'm kind of debating with myself whether I should keep the watch and use it primarily just when I'm out and doing my run and my activities. So I can just run with this one here on my right wrist, controlling my music and my contact with the outside world, and just keep this Garmin and use that for all of my tracking abilities. Kind of like that idea. But with that being said, I could just get the last generation, the Samsung Classic watch for 46 millimeters, and it actually costs less than 50% of the price of this one here for the LTE version. Although I can only get it in silver at that price, but still it is like maybe 60% less expensive. Losing out of course on the titanium bezel, a sapphire lens, which is a little bit unfortunate, and also the bigger battery if I wanted to go for a longer run and also have my friends and family track me throughout that run. Using LTE and GPS, that will definitely drain the battery quite a bit on a watch like this. A scenario with a bigger battery would definitely come in handy. But man, just be able to run with this instead of having to bring my phone and still be able to reach the outside world would be kind of nice. Although one of the, of course, main drawback is that I'm losing the ability to take photos and videos when I'm out doing my run. Something I almost never do, or I have never done so as of yet. But I was out on one run where I didn't have my phone with me, and I saw this kind of UFO. Really wish that I had like a camera with me on that occasion so I could record that. But of course I didn't have my phone there with me. For those rare occasions where you see a UFO or something you kind of want to take a photo or video of, it would be nice to have the camera. But as of all the years I have been running, I don't think I've ever really, other than that one situation there, had the need to or want to actually take photos or video of anything I'm doing when I'm out and tracking my activities. I'm definitely not the kind of guy that actually filming my runs. I don't really like that. For me, it's meditative state when I'm out doing my run. So I don't really like having really contact with the outside world. But I've also been in an accident or two where it actually could have been kind of nice to be able to reach the outside world. So I carry this for security, safety reasons, and also for having the camera. But if I could replace that with this watch here, it would just be kind of nice. But that's pretty much all my thoughts on this watch here after using it a few days. It still is a watch I kind of like. I like using it. I like all of the smart features, and I've actually been pretty impressed by its tracking and heart rate and GPS accuracy throughout my few activities I have tracked with this watch here as of yet. And the SpO2 measurements as well seemed also to be kind of accurate on this watch here. So definitely usable, not just a gimmick. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this watch here, but I will probably wait a little bit until it goes on sale. Maybe you can get it like at 40% off or something like that. Samsung sometimes have some insane sales, and also the value doesn't hold up as well as, for instance, an Apple Watch. So they tend to like drop a little bit in price a few months down the line. For me personally, I'm kind of debating whether I should keep it or maybe just send it back, buy the last generation watch and just be happy with that. Or if I should keep this one because I also got those Galaxy Buds Live included with this watch, or I can claim those Bluetooth headphones, so it kind of makes up a little bit for the extra pricing. And now I also of course have it in my hands. It's a little bit troublesome to actually send it back and have to spend time on that and order a new watch, and maybe I find out that the new watch isn't really up to par, that I really would rather like this watch here. So maybe I'll keep it. I'm like 50-50 at this stage here. Only really way I can justify keeping it is if it replaces this smartphone for my run, but not because I force myself to do so, but because it is better and easier to use a watch rather than have a chunky phone in my pocket or in my belt purse. But anyways, I think this video have gone on long enough. So this has just been a unboxing, setup, first look and first impression of this Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. I like it. I just don't love it, and I feel like it is a little bit overpriced considering it also uses last gen hardware and not maybe the brightest screen out there. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope to see you again in a future one. Until then, take care.